Right guys, today we are looking at what is probably in my opinion the best concentration build as far as sort of the amount of gold that you can make from it and for how long that it's likely to make you gold for. And I sort of talked about this in my pre-expansion concentration build video where I said I think this is going to be sort of definitely going to be one of the best, and it's proving to be so. But I was quite reluctant to make this video. And I was reluctant to make this video because I wanted to keep these concentration build videos sort of really easy, simple for everybody to be able to do whatever level you're at. And this one is Alchemy. And we are looking at doing the Flask of Alchemy or Chaos using as much rank 2 materials as we can to make rank 3 Flasks of Alchemy or Chaos, which we are going to sell on the auction house for profit. Now, like I said, I wasn't going to make this, but there's been a lot of demand from you guys asking about Alchemy in particular. So I thought I'd put together sort of the best guide that I could to set this up. But like I said, I think this is the best concentration spec, but the reason is it's just such a pain to set up and it costs so much more gold than the others to set up, which is why I was a little bit reluctant, but you guys asked for it, so here it is. So just like in the other videos, you need to get your profession treasures first. So I've put coordinates to all that in the description below. I don't have footage this time, so you just have to follow those instead. Just like all the other times as well, you need to get your 10 knowledge book from the Artisan Security vendor. And if you have the council reputation, so that's the one from the first zone at 12, you can get a knowledge book from them as well, which gives you another 10 knowledge. And that's just for 50 Artisan Security, so that's well worth doing as well. As far as profession tools are concerned, uncommon professional tools again, and this time on your profession tool in particular, then you need to get multicraft for this particular build. So the main reason I was reluctant to do this because all the recipes near enough in Alchemy are from a discovery process, which is not particularly cheap to go through. And it's all RNG, so you can't have such sort of a linear process in which to unlock the Flask of Alchemy or Chaos, which is our sort of end goal with doing this. That being said, there are ways in which we can do this better. And hopefully this can help you guys that have asked for this, that really want to get this build set up. So the first thing we need potions, because we need to be basically melting these potions in order to get the resource that we need. So I've actually found, rather than crafting loads of potions yourself, I just went to the auction house and bought a load. So I went to the auction house, filtered by current expansion, clicked on potions, list sort of low to high. Now, there is a major healing potion and major mana potion that come up on that list for some reason from Classic. Ignore those. Basically, you want the cheapest potion you can from that list. And most of the time for me, that seems to be sort of the Cave Dwellers one. So you can get those quite cheap. So I bought about 500 of those. Now, that is not necessarily enough, but it will do for now to get us started. We also need to buy a load of dilution solution. You just grab this from the alchemy supplies guy next to the workbench, basically. So what we're going to do next, we need to neutralize concoction on all these potions we've just got, and that's going to give us core catalyst. So this is essential, sort of an essential material that we need in order to do the experiment process that we're going to try and use to unlock the flasks, or the Flask of Alchemy or Chaos in particular. Now you have to pick a herb to experiment with when you're going through this process. So all you're going to do is you're going to pick the cheapest uncommon herb from the War Within that you can get. Don't pick Mica Bloom because you cannot discover the Flask of Alchemy or Chaos from that. So you're going to use that to do your experiment with, along with the core catalysts. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to do this a couple of times, and then you're going to get an explosion, and then you're going to get a 10-minute debuff, so you can't do anything else. And it's crap. Now, an alternative to this is there is a type of discovery you can do that requires Artisan Security, less herbs, so it's cheaper, but it does have a 24-hour cooldown, which, you know, the problem is we could do this cheaper, but the fact is it's going to end up costing you more in the sense you've lost out on profit by using the cheaper method to do the discoveries over a longer period of time. So you're best off just biting the bullet and doing the quick discovery system now, paying out and start earning profit back from it as quickly as you can. So what we're going to do, we're going to put 30 points into Alchemy or Mastery, and this unlocks Formulated Courage. And what it does is when we craft one of these, it allows us to do as many wild experimentations as we want within a 10-minute period. So basically, you're going to craft one of these, use it, and then you're just going to do loads and loads and loads of wild experimentations, and we're hoping to get that flask proc from doing all this. So this is why we've sort of stacked up all these core catalysts. We'll stack up a load of herbs, and we're just going to burn through them all and hope we get that flask of alchemy or chaos. What I found was with just using those first 500 potions, it wasn't enough. I had to buy another 500 for this particular character. But the second time I did it, I did manage to get the flask of alchemy or chaos. Now, from there, then obviously we're in a position now where we have the recipe we want. I would probably go through and craft one of every sort of recipe that you have unlocked just to get those first time craft bonuses, get as many knowledge points as possible, because this build is quite a sort of extensive in the amount of knowledge and plus skill you need, because the Flask of Alchemy or Chaos is one of the sort of like highest skill recipes in the game. As far as where your actual points are going, you're going to put 30 points into Fantastic Flasks. You can see on my spec here, I've got points in bulk production at the bottom. Completely ignore that because I'm doing something else with this character as well. Next, you can just put your next 50 points into Alchemy or Chaos. Obviously, we'll have 13 here for sure. You can put your next 20 once you've maxed out Fantastic Flasks into here. From there, you can just put all your points into one of the uncommon herbs. As long as it doesn't go into Microbloom, you're fine. Just max one of those out next, and then the next one if you do get any more knowledge points. But as usual, we're not really trying to push too much knowledge points on this build once it's set up. We sort of want it to just print us gold once we've got to the point where we're sort of in a situation where it can possibly do that. Now, what you'll probably find is when you have unlocked the Flask of Alchemy or Chaos, that you will not be able to craft it using rank 2 materials, or you shouldn't be able to because of how difficult it is to craft. So you will have to use some rank 3 materials. So vials in particular seem to be probably the best way to get a lot of skill without having to spend sort of too much gold. Now, you don't really have to worry about this too much because the profit margin is still really, really good. You can see here it's like 10,000 gold-ish, and this character's having to use loads of rank 3 materials, so it's still quite a good return for using your concentration on. Now, what will happen over time is you will skill up from crafting these Flasks of Alchemy or Chaos sort of all the way up to 100 skill. So every time you craft this, the amount your skill's going to go up, so the amount of rank 3 materials you use is going to go down. And if you do happen to pick up any more knowledge points on the way, then your skill is going to go up again. Eventually, you might get to a point where you're doing all this with rank 2 materials. But even if you don't, it's still sort of really, really profitable as things look at the moment. And it's probably going to be like that for the long term because these require so many herbs at rank 3 to craft. It's going to be very difficult for all those rank 3 herbs to come down to sort of rank 2 prices over time. So in my opinion, this is sort of the best concentration spec that there is around. But you can see why I was a little bit more reluctant to share it. And that's mostly just because how expensive and how our RNG it is to set up. But I do think if you're sort of really in this for the long term, as far as concentration builds are concerned, this probably is the best one to have set up. But it's not probably for newer sort of crafter gold maker sorts. This is probably for those that sort of know what they're doing, because you do require a bit sort of more adaptation with this build, because you can't just follow my exact spec and hit the exact breakpoints because of how the process works, where you're going to have different amounts of knowledge, sort of different profession skill levels depending on how your leveling up process goes. So you do need to have a little bit more knowledge and sort of pockets that are a little bit deeper, to be honest, when you're doing this particular spec, just because of how much it costs and how much setup it has required compared to all the other ones. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope this helps out, and I'll see you next time.